So I am coming up on my 10-year dancing anniversary next month, and I've been thinking a lot about things I wish I would have known when I kept stripping. And here's what I mean. There are things you wish you would have known when you started, right? Like, I wish I'd have known that I would have to clean the pole, about stage rotations, about tip outs. Those are really useful and informative, and there's definitely videos like that out there that are really helpful. For me, though, I've been thinking a lot about what I wish I would have known once I had my basics down, right? Once I've been clocking in, I've been clocking out. I feel like I'm that girl. I know how the club runs, and I'm walking around with that like ego of like, I'm 2 years in, but I know it all. It's kind of hard because a lot of times as dancers, we go in and out of the industry, we work at a lot of different clubs. When we're at work, we're not necessarily socializing. And so a lot of that information doesn't necessarily get passed on. And I just have been thinking a lot about this. Like, if someone else is watching this and it gives them value, right? I hope they take those lessons and maybe save themselves like a year or two of being stressed or a frustrating relationship or whatever, right? So this video is going to be all over the map. I'm going to talk about some social stuff, some sales stuff, some savings and personal financial management stuff, all things that come up around the club. Let's start with a few sales things, okay? One would be talk to everybody. I think earlier in my career, especially once I felt like, okay, I've decided what look I'm going to have and what energy I want to put out, I would narrow in and be like, these are the customers I want to talk to. These are the customers that are going to like me, right? And I was limiting out so many different types of customers to the point where I'd talk to maybe 6, 7 people in a shift because if they weren't giving me like very clear interest right away, I'm not approaching you. You're not going to spend money on me. The longer I've spent in the industry, the more I've been surprised by what customers want to spend time or money on me. We don't have a magic ball. You don't know what you don't know. So approach every single person with the same energy. By the way, not just approach, right? Like, sell people on expensive options. Don't assume that, oh, this guy's wearing this pair of shoes or he's wearing this wallet or this, just his cuffs aren't like this. So you know what? He's not going to really spend money. So let me just ask him for the cheapest option. What a waste of my time and what a waste of customers' times it was to guess what they were buying or not buying, or if they were going to buy from me or not. Nowadays, if I'm in a club, I want to approach everybody. Yes, I'll approach people who have high interest in me first, but I want to go around the room, work a circuit. If I'm going like clockwise or counterclockwise, I don't care. I want to go to the lounges, the bars, the tables, and if any kind of group I'm feeling a little like anxious about approaching, I will write down next time, like before my next shift, how do I deal with this configuration, right? If it's like, oh, I've never dealt with couples very well, or I haven't dealt with groups very well, sit down and put intentional time into preparing for that because it really reflects in your money and it reflects in your results, honestly. Second would be try to lead the charge. Don't try to follow what other people are doing in your club. This goes for so many things. Okay, so I'll start with an easy one, lap dances, right? When I started, I would just see what someone else was doing and then kind of do that. And then everyone at my club sort of was moving the exact same way. So every dance looked the same. And it was probably like 5 years into dancing when I saw somebody who moved really differently and it looked really beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do what they're doing. Right. And so I asked this dancer a lot about how they develop their movement and stuff. And they said, like, I'm putting in a lot of time and effort into this. And I just think a lot about like how my body looks and how it looks to customers. And that just blew my mind because for so long I've been doing the same 1-2 step. And then I'd be frustrated with customers like, why aren't you paying me more? Why don't you want to get 4 or 5 dances from me? Like, oh, I bet you just want to bump and grind. Like, God, these guys are so annoying. And I really wasn't taking responsibility for like, I'm in charge of this. I can decide how I move. I can decide how interesting it looks, the pace that I go at, how much of the room I'm taking space up in. Like, am I standing? Am I sitting? Am I on top of you? Am I like doing splits? Am I like undulating? Like, there's so many ways to spice even just that one thing up. But because I was doing what everybody else was doing, I wasn't seeing that. Right. And this goes for so many other things, right? Like, you don't have to wait for a customer to have 2 drinks and be there for 20 minutes to approach. That's just something you probably saw someone say once or see everyone else at a club doing and you just assume that's truth. It's not. There's no rules for you approaching right away. You might have to have a couple lines and be prepared for them to say, I just got here, and then be able to deal with that interaction and jump off from that. But once you're ready to deal with someone going, I just got here, or give me a second for a drink, and still make a great impression and start that connection, you just got in on being able to make money. Like, that's awesome, right? Scheduling, another example. A lot of times it's like, okay, if you're like a top dancer here, you don't show up earlier than like 10 p.m. And it's like, why? Like, always just ask why. Always just ask why, especially when it comes to like how people are selling or how people are dealing with customers. Just, you don't have to ask them, but in your head, ask, is this because everyone else is doing it, or is this because it's the best idea? Because there's clubs where I'm telling you, show up at 6 p.m., that 6 to 9 p.m. can be the best money making time. And most dancers in that club don't even realize it because they've decided in their head, I'm a top entertainer. I'm only showing up after midnight. That's cool. That's their money. That's their business. But you should always be asking yourself, why is it being done this way? Is this the best way to do it for my business? And how can I figure out what's best for me, right? And do that. Just do that. Focus on that, not what someone else is doing, right? Oh God, if I would literally have given so much money earlier on just to have someone teach me that the way I was pacing interactions was absolutely wasting my time and wasting customers' time. You feel like you're constantly getting, I respect you too much, right? I'll take care of you later, like maybe later, like just not right now. That sort of like slowing your pace down kind of customers. Almost all of the time, it's because you're not watching your pacing and you're sitting there for way too long. And earlier on, because in so much of life we're taught like, if I sit here longer and if I'm nicer and if I'm accommodating and pleasant and make space for you, you'll be more likely to do what I want, right? That's how we'll operate. And it can waste so much time and stress you out so much because you're sitting there thinking, why isn't he spending? Why doesn't he want to give me money? And he's sitting there thinking, why are you asking me for money if you just hung out here for 30, 40, 50 minutes for free, right? So there's no perfect timing. I'm not one of those people that says like, oh, it's 2 songs and that's it, or it's 1 song and that's it. Like, people are people, different customers. It's going to take a different amount of time to sell them on something, period. But I would highly encourage you to think about how you can be asking for tips, how you can be asking for money earlier and earlier in the interaction. It doesn't have to be like the big money right away unless you're feeling that energy and you want to like go, 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 right? And remember, there's no rules. You can ask for a VIP 3 minutes and who cares? It's your business, right? A lot of times that can work. But if you're feeling like he's not ready yet for that big purchase, don't feel like you have to only sell him like a set of dances or you have to do it in a certain order that works for somebody else. Do what works for you. So if you're like, I have a great joke, right? I'm funny. Great. Charge them by the joke, right? Even if you're like 5, 10 minutes in, go, okay, if this joke really makes you laugh, you are going to have to tip me this amount, right? Because you're establishing that you're going to be paying me for entertainment, paying me for my company. Those interactions where you're just not sure, if someone could have just taught me, like, err on the side of asking, err on the side of making yourself heard and making your customer understand clearly what this interaction is, oh, the amount of time and money and stress that would have saved me. Because when I sped up my sales cycle, customers bought so much more, were so much happier about buying, and gave me so much less like back and forth, right? Like that rejection of like, I respect you too much, I like you too much. That's because I was sitting there too long and they were interacting with me for too long and they got confused and they started thinking I was their girlfriend. I'm not. You're great, you're sweet, you're awesome. I am your entertainment for the night. Right? And I want you to remember that as my customer. That's so important. Watch your pacing, wear a watch for the sake of all that is good. Some personal ones that I wish I would have known earlier on when I was dancing. Okay. If you are in the club often, you have to be careful with your energy and you have to be a little bit selfish about what you are taking in and what you are not. Here's what I mean. I used to get ready in a locker room, right? For years, I would get ready in the locker room, spend like an hour there doing hair, doing makeup, hanging out. No headphones in, just chatting. And then whoever the 5 or 6 people who were around me, they would pretty much decide for me what my mood would be. If they were in a great mood and we were having a good time back there, I'd go on the floor in a great mood. If somebody had a bad interaction, wasn't feeling it, was complaining about their day, was going through it with their partner, was stressed about their other business, was the bajillion things that you hear about in a locker room, that energy would be on me before I even got onto the floor. So customers didn't watch that interaction. They don't know that I just heard someone complain about their day for 30 minutes. All they see is that I'm in a bad mood now. And I'm in my head and I'm thinking, yo, is my partner doing what their partner's doing? Oh man, maybe I should be thinking about doing other assignments. Maybe I should be da 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 da. And I'm so distracted before I've even gotten an opportunity to make money. That is so costly and it's so exhausting. And it's really hard to break that pattern because that is a shared work environment and it is a social environment and it's so fun to be there with coworkers. But at the same time, this is your business, right? So protecting that energy, protecting your time, being self aware of like the hour before my shift is just for me. It's just about what I need to make the most money. It's my fight night. I got my headphones on. I'm showing up like I am a prize fighter about to win, is the mentality I want to be in before the club. Everybody's different. If that socialization and that extrovert energy gets you warmed up, that works great for you. But just figure out what works for you, and just be protective with your energy, right? Another thing that is super helpful personally was realizing that I am not a superhero and that I do burn out and that I do need time for rest and building that into my weeks. And the way that built into my weeks is outsourcing. So, because I don't come from money and it's always been in my head like only super, super rich, wealthy people can have help with domestic work in their homes. For a long time, I just was doing like cooking, cleaning, laundry, errands, organizing, and having to go to stores in the middle of the day when I should be sleeping, and having to go run to Trader Joe's to grab some pre-made meals that are not even going to have all the like nutritional value that I need, but it's just what's available and easy. And I was not realizing that it was costing me so much time and money and energy because as dancers, we have a shorter lived career than other careers, right? For the most part. But our hourly rate can be astronomical, right? And our hourly rate is not automatic, meaning if I'm not in a good mood, if I'm not feeling good, if I didn't eat my 3 meals today, I am not going to make as much money, right? As I would otherwise. So if I find someone and I can pay them for their time and they can be making a great hourly rate for that work, right? And be helping me with cooking, cleaning, organizing, errands, right? Like filling up the gas in my car, like making sure just my life is organized. That saves me 15 to 20 hours. And I can either spend that time in the club making more money, growing my business, getting my practice in with customers, or I can spend that time relaxing and breathing and then not having to take 2 other days to do that in my week, right? Because it's so easy as answers to be like, okay, I'm going to end up working 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And if that works for you, that's great. But if you're like, there's not enough money coming in and there's more money going out, right? Having someone on your team that is helpful and can do a lot of that and just support you is amazing. For me, I've always hired for this, and this has been through Indeed, through care.com, through, a friend of a friend. Like once you start looking, there are a lot of folks who are qualified for this kind of work and who might just have that personality and actually get joy from doing this kind of work. And if you're like me and you're like naturally messy, not the most organized, don't enjoy cooking, don't enjoy running errands, just cannot suggest that more as an option for yourself because, that has changed my life. All right, so a couple of finance things before I close out this video. One is lifestyle creep. Okay, if you've never heard of this, please Google it because it might make a lot of things come into clarity and be like, okay, I see what's going on here, right? When I started dancing, I was under the impression that I'm going to be making more money, so it's going to solve a lot more of my financial problems. And then I looked around like 2 years in and was like, hold up. And now I'm in like car debt. I have medical debt I haven't paid off. I have school debt I haven't paid off. I'm not even sure where all this money's going because my lifestyle hasn't changed that much that I can tell, right? And it was kind of a slap in the face and it kind of made me feel burnt out and frustrated and annoyed and like, I'm not going to go to the club and deal with these dudes when it's not even changing my life. I didn't realize at the time was that my lifestyle had changed, right? I just didn't notice it because it was happening so slowly over time and because it was like little small amounts that were just getting bigger and bigger and eating away at all this money I was making. I wish I would have realized earlier on to watch what is going on with my accounts and to be just more aware with myself, right? That if I'm not watching my money, it is going to leave. right? If I'm not paying attention to it, it's going to be a jealous lover and it's going to pack its stuff and it's going to go out my door and I'm never going to see it again, right? So this doesn't mean I have to be watching my money 24/7 or never have fun or always be looking at a budget and have 50 different spreadsheets. But if you are living the sort of dancer lifestyle where you can show up and put the money under the dresser or under the mattress and not pay attention, highly encourage you to just put a little time and thought into where it's going out and what lines you want to draw around your money to make sure that it is growing for you and that it's not just like, because so many dancers, right, especially who've been in it long term, will tell you that there's been times in their life, and that time might even be now, where they're looking around going, what did I get out of this? What was the point of doing all this work? I don't really see the results of my labor. And you don't want to end up in that feeling. So especially if you're earlier on, but hey, even if you're like decades in, who cares, right? Tomorrow's a new day. Get on some of those habits and just watch where that money is going, so that it's not a jealous lover and you don't find it, calling an Uber and heading to Colorado or wherever. A couple other things that are super financially helpful. One seems obvious, but I just encourage you to do it and encourage you to do it with some grace for yourself and some like inner peace around it, which is get you an accountant, get you some clarity in your taxes and your financial life. Because just because you're not watching it doesn't mean somebody else is not expecting it. And the IRS is one of those certainties of life, right? So I'll tell you how I messed up in my tax reality, right? The way I messed up in my tax reality was by thinking, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it at the end of the year. I'll deal with it down the road. I'll deal with it at a different time in my life. Because right now I'm not in the time of my life where I am thinking about buying properties, starting businesses, getting it, together, or like growing up, right? I was young. I was like 19 when I started. So those things didn't seem like priorities, but turns out the way life is, right? By the time you're ready to make something a priority, you are going to need some record, right? That you have been paid, that you have been compensated, that you have been paying those taxes. So you might be, 20, whatever, 30, whatever, and going, I want to buy a house tomorrow and I've saved up enough for it. But guess what? If you haven't paid taxes, it doesn't matter how much cash you have got, because no one's going to want to give you a mortgage. No one is going to be convinced that your pay records are legit. And the IRS is probably going to come wanting to know where their money is for all those other years. And that's going to mean penalties, interest. It's going to mean closer looks at your money. It's going to mean you stressing out about your financial records, which is just so much. And it's unnecessary, because for a pretty, relatively small amount compared to all those fees and penalties and stress, today, right now, you can look for an accountant that is qualified, that understands tax law, that understands how our jobs work, and that will probably help you save money in the long run, because you can be claiming things like, your hair, your makeup, your heels, your outfits as work expenses. And if you have a qualified tax person, all that's going to work in your favor, and you're going to feel so much more in control of your money. Plus, if you get behind, it takes like years to get out of this. It's like a cycle, right? Of like, I paid this off, now I gotta pay this off. Now I gotta pay this off, now I gotta pay this off. And it's exhausting and stressful, and you deserve better, right? So for your own sake, if you're not dealing with your taxes, please, a year ago is the best time to start, but today is the best next time, right? I know this video's all over the place, lots of different areas, lots of different things to think about, but if you've been in the industry for a while, I hope it's helpful, and I hope there's something you get out of it. And if you have been, I hope that you'll put something in the comments too, like something that you have taken away from the industry, something you wish someone would have told you maybe 4 or 5 years in, 2, 3 years in, that has really changed the way you operate in the club and outside of the club. Hope this video is helpful. Subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, sort of around the industry, around sales, around making money in the industry, and check out our new pole course that is coming out. It's with Young Pole Masters, coming out this month. What an awesome celebration of 10 years in, that we get to work with this incredible pole instructor. It is a 30-day live course, and we're just going to be walking through like beautiful stage sets that he's curated and put together. It has a moves library, it has a tracker for your practice days, it comes with lots of pull goodies. Super excited about it. More info about that will be dropping in the next few days. So if you're interested, subscribe to our mailing list at racksearches.com and subscribe here if you want to see more dancer related content.